Hi there, and welcome to the Skylight Books author reading series. If you'd like to learn more about us and our many upcoming author events, please visit skylightbooks.com, where you can browse our inventory, buy books, and join our Friends with Benefits Club. You can also follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. To speak to a real live bookseller like me, please call 323-660-1175. Thanks for your support, and enjoy.
Today, of course, we are absolutely delighted to have Gabriela Herstik with Inner Witch, a modern guide to the ancient craft. Gabriela Herstik is a witch, writer, fashion alchemist, and insanely cool. I love the way she embraces glamour and power, the power of aesthetics, and I love her super accessible tone. She has been published all over the place, in ID, Broadly, The Numinous, Hello Giggles, but I knew her best from Nylon's Ask a Witch, and now you can ask your witch live. The book has been very widely praised, so right now, I thought maybe we could all collectively focus our energy as I wash the author in her own praise. This book has been called profound, complex, refreshing, practical, magical, necessary, vital, ancient, current, deep, fun, accessible, eclectic, potent, brilliant, a gem, warm, loving, engaging, inclusive, mesmerizing, and truly sacred. Let's please give her a warm round of applause.
Hi guys! Oh my god, thank you for being here. I'm so excited, and I'm going to read to you and let you ask me questions, and if you have any requests for stuff to read, I can do that too. But first I wanted to take a second, lead everybody through a little guided meditation, real short, to get us in our bodies, because it's stressful out there. So everybody take a comfortable seat, close your eyes. Just start to connect to your breath, feeling where you're supported in your chair, letting the stress of the day melt away. And we're going to take a deep breath in, and then let it out with any sound. And we're going to do that again. In through the nose, out through the mouth with sound. Just start to feel where your heart is in your chest, sending her a little love. Breathing into her. Thank you all for being here. Thank yourself for being here. You made it. You survived. And just, if there's anywhere you're holding tension, send some breath there. You can imagine a golden light coming from the cosmos, moving down your body and washing any tension away. And as you're exhaling, imagining any gross things you've been holding on to just melting away, moving out through your breath, through your exhale. Taking one last deep breath in. And out. And slowly opening your eyes when you're ready. Ooh, just totally missed the mic there. Okay, thank you guys for being here. Hope you're feeling a little bit better. I'm going to read some random stuff. Thank you guys for the support. This book came out 2 weeks ago, which is really weird. It's been a process to write. A journey, I should say. I can't believe that I got to stand here and talk about witchcraft when thousands of people have died for this label. So it's really a privilege, and I just want to thank the witches that have come before me to let me be here and let me share this with you. So yeah, we're going to start at the beginning. Okay. Thanks. We're waking up, and with our eyes to the moon, we recall the eternal truth. You are a witch. You are made of magic. It's time to remember. Becoming a witch is an awakening, a remembering, an initiation. It's a chant to come home, come home, come home, because even when you feel like you're lost, you're not. From working with crystals, tarot, and astrology, to solstices and full moons, today's witches are integrating witchcraft and magic into their everyday lives. This is because, as we navigate an incredibly charged cultural and political climate, we're left craving a deep connection to something bigger. And for many women especially, witchcraft is a way to reclaim the divine in each of us, and a path that urges us to find a connection to the natural world, and to listen to how she affects us. So, what is witchcraft? Witchcraft is a nature-based path that worships the earth as the ultimate mother, healer, and goddess. It's also a way to honor and learn about and explore all the beings and energy on this plane, even those that we may not be able to see with the naked eye. Witchcraft is magic, using intention through spells and rituals for a desired outcome. Magic, in our case, is spelled with a K, to distinguish our craft from the sleight of hand magic performed by stage magicians. It's a path that teaches you to feel the unknown and the unseen. And damn, does it feel good. The witch. A witch is many things. The medicine woman, the slut, the one without children, the activist, the outcast. The witch has always lived and will always live. A witch is a healer, a woman in tune with her sexuality, someone who works with the earth, anyone who abides by her own rules. Very often, witches were the protesters, the catalysts, the ones calling for justice and using all their tools, physical and otherwise, to create change. A witch has always been someone who refuses to abide by the societal constructs of the time. She is an outsider, rooted in her own decisiveness. The witch has always been a threat. Magic. Energy is your best friend. It's always there for you, no matter what. Remember the old saying, energy is neither created nor destroyed? Well, that's true for magic as well. The energy in this universe has always been and will always be. It's the song of life and the kiss of the cosmos. It's not just electricity, it's your thoughts and your feelings too. It's the secret ingredient and the soul for working magic. So this is like something that I'm sure a lot of you have heard, like white witchcraft and white magic and black witchcraft and black magic. I don't vibe with that. I think that it's kind of, I'm just going to read. I wrote about it. So, although some witches will call themselves white witches or say they work with white magic or black magic, you will not see those terms in this book. Magic at its very essence is energy, and energy is neither black nor white, harmful nor helpful, until the witch adds her own 2 cents and decides what it is. To call something that seems positive white magic and something that appears negative black magic is also inherently wrong. White attracts energy, both good and bad, and black repels energy, both good and bad. Also, it's just kind of racist to like say that white is good and black is bad. That's like something I originally like added that, and then the publishers, I guess, were like, no. But in like a lot of other countries, that kind of like black hats being evil is opposite. Like in Germany, black hats are good luck. So it's definitely like, I don't like when people are like, I'm a white witch, so I don't say that. Gonna kind of switch gears and talk about our best friend Karma, because she's that bitch and I love her. So here we go. We all know Karma. She's the one friend who never leaves us alone, who comes over sometimes at the perfect time, like when she randomly lends you that dress you're gonna ask about, and then also manages to find you at the most inconvenient times, like when she needed your help when her dog fell sick and you were on your way to a date. While we love holding grudges against her, she always manages to teach us something important, so we can't get too mad. Karma's not a bitch. She is that bitch. If you struggle against her and what she's teaching you, it's only going to get harder. But if you recognize her for what she is, a magnified mirror reflecting back your own stuff, then the rest of the lesson gets easier. Your cosmic team. Time doesn't exist beyond this world. Our loved ones who have died can stay and assist us through our lives in the form of spirit guides, much like the idea of guardian angels. Spirit guides can be your ancestors from this life, or they can be guides from past lives. They can even be figures that you admire and look up to, who inspire you and have taught you in some way. There are also ascended masters. They're like a spirit guide upgrade. They've fully broken free from the cycles of karma and death and rebirth, so they really know what's up. They're there for us in times of intense spiritual and emotional turmoil. While our spirit guides may help us in day-to-day life, the ascended masters help us in things that involve the bigger picture of our lives, which are often spiritual in nature. Working alongside your spirit guides and masters are your angels. While the idea of angels may have Judeo-Christian connotations, angels are actually non-denominational beings who work to bring us peace and love, the creatures of the universe. They, like our other spirit guides and masters, are simply a call away. Angels, spirit guides, and ascended masters are like a team of cosmic cheerleaders and teachers who are here for you whenever you feel disconnected, alone, anxious, or unsafe. Talk to them. I talk to my guides in the bathroom at work, in my car, and when I'm walking down my street. They are there with you for a reason, and even though it may take a second to learn their language, you can. Ask for signs and invite their help in. Make art for them, decorate an altar, and don't forget to talk to them. And just a note, angels and beings like that, since we have free will, like they're not just going to come in and do their thing, like we have to ask for help. So that's why a lot of the time when things get kind of crazy, you're told to like ask your guides for help, because they want to make sure that they're not like intruding on your personal space. So I have like one more section to read, but if there's anybody that has a request for a specific section, anything? No? Yeah.
So the white energy absorbs and the black energy repels bad energy?
Yeah, so like when you're working with candles, you would use white to like attract and black to repel. It's just like energy, like white and black magic. It's kind of like reductionary to describe it as like positive and negative. It's more of like, I would describe it more of like active and receptive almost. Yeah, so I describe magic as energy plus action plus intention. So like you can even think of it like when you're like lighting a candle for a friend's birthday and then singing them happy birthday. You're physically lighting this thing. You have this intention of singing happy birthday and sending this like loving energy to somebody, and then you're actually singing it and raising the energy and sending it to them. It's like a very simple way to think about magic. So it can be anything like taking time to like light a candle and focus on an intention and raise energy, whether that's through chanting or dancing. You can do it. I've done yoga as a way to raise energy, but it's just like doing something to manifest an intention, or doing an action to manifest an intention is how I describe magic. Yeah. So I want to read about my family's relationship to fashion. Before I got approached to write this, oh, my mom's gonna cry. Hi, my parents are here. Thanks, fam. It's okay. So my background is in fashion and fashion writing. That's like my first love. I've always been a witch, but I thought that I was gonna like be a fashion editor. And right before I got approached to write this, I was like, I'm gonna write about witchcraft less. There's too many people writing about it. And then the universe had other ideas. So, but both of my families are involved in fashion, and I feel like a very strong connection to them. So I'm gonna read about that. And this is in the fashion magic chapter of my book. It's called My Story. So, part of my journey with witchcraft, specifically with fashion magic, is very personal. Fashion and fashion magic are in my blood. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my family's relationship with clothing and textiles. My paternal grandmother, Rose Weiss, survived 3 years in the concentration camps because of her work as a seamstress. As fate would have it, she had the same name as a head seamstress's niece at Auschwitz, and because she was actually trained in sewing, was able to stay in the seamstress's quarters of the camp, sewing and repairing uniforms for the Nazis and their families. She was also able to get work for her sister Edith. She wrote about her experience in a memoir, and from it I learned that her father and uncle owned a fur business. After the war, Rose met my grandpa Harry when he was training her in how to load anti-missile cannons for the Haganah, the Jewish paramilitary organization that went on to become the Israel Defense Forces. Apparently, the first thing he ever said to her was, "If you don't mind me telling you, soldier, your fly's open." Before Harry was sent to the camps, which he also endured for 3 years, he had been apprenticed in Prague to become a master weaver. On the other side of the family, my maternal great-grandparents escaped Poland before the war and fled to Mexico City, where they started a store that sold things like gloves and tights. Eventually, they started a zipper factory, as well as a family. My background is in fashion writing, and I'm very passionate about using clothes as a way to not only express myself, but to connect with my purpose. As someone who's ethnically Jewish and had more than 70 members of her family in concentration camps, I shouldn't be here. Yet I still am. I honor this by connecting to my ancestors through what I wear and by incorporating fashion into my magic. I am so thankful to be able to continue that through this book. yeah, so it's definitely like learning more about my family's involvement with fashion and has deepened my own practice, which is writing this was just such a beautiful way to connect with that. So, yeah, any questions? Anything? I can keep reading. What's that?
I noticed like with the candle example you gave, like in Judaism you use candles to kind of like decken in a lot of the holidays and things like that. Did you see any parallels between practices of witchcraft and then kind of the practices of Judaism?
Yeah, I mean, also like on Fridays you do Shabbat, which is the day of rest and the holy day. And for me, I love Fridays because they're ruled by Venus, which is the goddess and planet of glamour and beauty and love. But that's like, for me, that's like a personal favorite day. And I've always kind of do spells on Fridays unintentionally and then I was like, oh, it's same day as Shabbat. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these practices kind of overlap. I mean, like lighting candles, eating food after services, like after a ritual, a lot of time you'll kind of like share food with people and eat. And every religion has its own rituals that it does to kind of like focus energy. And that's kind of the same thing. Obviously, like, the Jewish prayers are different, but there's always, look at Catholicism. They like cleanse with herbs and do all these like crazy rituals and then still condemn witches. So, but, yeah, there's overlaps. And when you're studying, like even with like different occult studies, there's overlaps with Judaism too. But yeah, what's up?
How does your faction tie into your magic? Like
Yeah.
one specific.
So I have always been, as a twin, as an Aquarius, I feel like I've always just taken a lot of joy in being my own human, and that for me, creative self-expression is magic, is glamour. Like, we all know the term glamour as like being glamorous and looking really beautiful and fabulous, but in truth, glamour is a veil that conceals what's beneath it. So like back in the old days where people were actually scared of fairies, the idea of a glamour meant something very different. The glamour was like when a fairy would come and switch your baby with a fairy baby and then put a glamour on it so you wouldn't know it's a fairy and you'd think it's your baby. And that's a changeling. There's kind of that veil where it's a trick. So for me, that's very similar as for fashion. Like, I don't naturally look like this. I do this as a way to, first off, focus my energy, focus on the way that I want other people to see me and I want to see myself. So like even just the ritual of getting ready is kind of like shifting the energy that I move through like the rest of the day. But you can't not live your life in clothing. You have to wear clothing, unfortunately, for most of us, unless we're nudists. Like, so there's different ways. Every color has a different association. I will put my clothing on my altar and then put crystals on it if I want to infuse it with certain things. I'll literally just hold my clothing in my hand and imagine a white light moving through it and do like a simple clothing spell. And then I'll match my clothing to like where the moon is in. So right now I think she's in Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, and she's a waxing crescent. So it's like I don't know, I didn't match my outfit today for the moon, but I'll like pull a tarot card and match my outfit to that. But for me, glamour is like a radical reclamation of how I want to be seen, like doing what I want to do and being seen how I want to be seen regardless of society and men who catcall, which happened to me like a million times yesterday. But it's also a way for me to connect to the divine feminine. I work a lot with the goddess Venus, who's rules over Friday and sex, love, beauty, and glamour. And for me, like embodying her through what I wear, whether that's pink eyeshadow or like a red dress or just like wearing rose perfume, is like a little thing that I can do to take my magic with me throughout my day, which is my main thing with fashion magic. It's something that I can carry with me. It's not just like I'm lighting a candle. It's like I'm living my life in this clothing. So if I add an element of like intention to this, and it's just going to kind of carry me throughout what I'm doing the rest of the day. That was a very long-winded answer. Does that make sense? Thanks. Okay, you had a question?
General question, are witches only female?
No, witches gender neutral. Men can be witches. For me, like a lot, witches, Yeah, no, which exists beyond any binary, in my opinion. It's just like an energy, and if you feel called to call yourself that, then you totally can. My thing is, a lot of the people who were accused of witchcraft, 90% of the time, 95, I don't know statistics, I'm making these up, but most of the time they weren't actually witches. They were just people that did stuff that the church didn't like, but a lot of the time they were women historically. A lot of us, I think, are attracted to witchcraft because there's a really big emphasis on working with the earth, which we personify as a more feminine energy, which, again, doesn't necessarily exist on the binary. I think of feminine energy as more like receptive and masculine energy is more active. Same thing as yin and yang. But there's a really big emphasis on kind of that, like, the divine feminine, on goddess, on working with the earth and her cycles. And even, like, the moon is personified a lot as feminine, and those of us who bleed have the same 20-day cycles as the moon. So you don't have to be a witch. You don't have to be a woman or femme to be a witch, but it helps. Yeah. It helps, and that's why a lot of us, I think, are kind of reclaiming this title. Yeah.
So I'm really excited. And I feel like witches are like feminists on steroids.
Uh-huh. Love that.
And so that's why they get in trouble a lot. And that's why it's really scary.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you are like on a path to be a Zen master,
Mm-hmm.
you're examining energy and you're not judging it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not directing it. But I sort of like the idea, from I gather what you're saying, is that it's not really a binary where it's bad or good, but in essence you are the impresario. You are shifting the
Mm-hmm.
energies and directing them into beneficial spaces where life can create.
Yeah, you're using your own energy to make changes on the physical and energetic realms. And I mean, like anything, you can wield that for a more negative purpose, but that's like the lens through which the magic is seen, right? Like if magic is just like a white light, then we're going to be seeing it through different colored glasses. It's not going to be colored. So like, yeah, if you're a witch, you're an agent of karma. You're an agent of change. Like that's just a responsibility you have to take on. And like, that's why if you're just, witchcraft is trendy right now. There's always going to be, witchcraft, occultism, it always comes into the mainstream when there's crazy stuff going on politically. There's always that kind of counterculture. So it's not new, but you have to, if you're calling yourself a witch, there's a responsibility that comes with that, and if you're going to be doing negative stuff and hurting other people, then it's going to come back to you in some shape or form. But you can be intentional and use it as a way to enrich lives.
So I was thinking it as a way of being assertive of your female self, but I like what you're saying. If you're an agent of karma, how do you listen for that deeper purpose? How do you master that listening?
Ooh, so she's asking how to master listening and like listening to your own self. Through mindful practices, through yoga, through meditation, through journaling, through breath work. I mean, it's like anything. It's, any kind of spiritual path you take, you're going to need time for solitude and for inner listening, which I think is a big part of this. That's where the magic happens. I mean, when you're using energy in this way, you're kind of going into like an altered state of mind where your subconscious your magic isn't happening on our conscious mind. It's happening on our subconscious mind. And that's something that you can't access, first off, usually in like a normal waking state. But through like, everybody's is going to be different. So for me, I love yoga, I love meditating, and I work with, my tarot is a big part of kind of introspective work with my writing. For some people, it might be music. For some people, it might be making art. But anything that kind of quiets your mind and gets you back into your body, because our bodies know stuff, like you feel when it's wrong. So
What if you don't like what karma's telling you?
then maybe you have some work to do. You don't have to like her, but you can acknowledge it and, like see it as an opportunity to shift the way you are. Because karma's not, we have free will. Like I think there are moments that are predestined, but at the end of the day, like we're the ones, nothing is set in stone, right? So if we don't like something, that means we have the opportunity to change it. So I just think that's an invitation to like do some inner work, or like we're not, we're allowed help. So, going to a teacher, going to a guide, going to therapy, all those kind of things are helpful. Any other questions?
Read some more to us.
he has a question then.
With fashion magic being a physical manifestation of your energy, do you have any other examples of a physical activity or something else that's tangible that you take throughout your life?
Ooh, like talismans or like just generally?
Something else that you do day to day that you
Oh,
do.
like personally? Just generally? One of the things I am always kind of learning is how to create something I can do every day, because it's hard when you're like young and on the go and like want to not be, have like a super intense schedule all the time. But for me, besides working with fashion, like I said, I work with tarot a lot. And although like I do readings for other people, for me it's mostly of a tool of introspection, like learning the cards, taking the time to sit and be with myself. I'll journal on them, and then I'll usually set like an intention and do some gratitude journaling after that. Like that's my personal practice. There's so many different ways to have something you take every day. You can use mala beads or different like prayer beads and work with those with different affirmations or mantras. I have like affirmations I work with regularly, which obviously that's not like a tangible thing, but it's something that's you can take with you. Talismans are another thing that you can work with fashion magic, which is just a charged object you can carry with you. It can be a necklace, it can be like a pressed penny from the pier, just anything that has kind of like a meaning, a connection that you have a connection with. What other things? I work with candles. That's a big part of my own practice. You can work with herbs. Cooking is a way to work with magic. Like, I feel like it's the way that I describe being a witch isn't like something I do. It's not just like when I light a candle and do a ritual. It's the lens in which I view things. So it's like interacting with people when I'm like talking to someone, holding space for them, like being intentional of like where the moon and the sun are, and like astrology. It's kind of like it colors everything. So it's like there's a lot of other stuff, and that's why I wrote my book, because there's something for you can work with magic no matter your interests. You don't have to be like super woo woo to like work with it. Although that might help. I don't know. I'm super woo woo, so I don't know what's not super woo woo. Yeah. Anybody? Yeah.
When did you discover these powers, and how did that show itself to you?
Ooh.
Just curious.
Yeah. So my dad's a rabbi. My mom has always been like very new agey. So since I was little, I don't remember a time where I wasn't really interested in like the unseen. Well, I think like looking back, the first time that I felt magic or I felt like something deeper was when we were living in New York. We lived in Buffalo, New York. We moved from LA to Buffalo, New York, which is just mean. Honestly. But Buffalo was like, it was the first time I really connected with nature in this way. Like I remember we had a creek in our backyard and like half an acre of woods, and we'd have these deer that would come, and like I just remember the days I spent exploring nature. I was just like, I just felt different. And now I'm like, oh, that was like connecting to this other kind of unseen realm. And then when I was in 6th grade, so I was 11, I got a deck of fairy oracle cards and fell madly in love, and then got a book on witchcraft and fairies, and was transported to when I went to Salem 3 years ago with my aunt and my sister and my grandma for Halloween. And Halloween's like the witch's new year. It's like our fucking day. It's the best. And Salem on Halloween is just like nuts. So I remember going to the witchcraft museum and like having them read to me, or like having these wax figures like talk to me about witchcraft. And then we saw a ritual and I ate a pomegranate. And when I was reading this book on witchcraft like a few years later, it just kind of clicked. And it was right before my bat mitzvah, and I like remember reading this and just being like, it felt like coming home. It just felt like recognizing something I hadn't had a language for. And then I was like, I'm a witch. And my parents apparently don't remember me telling them that, but I never outgrew it. So here I am. It's been a journey. And then in college, I kind of started experimenting with fashion and magic, and I did a series of tarot-inspired outfits on my fashion blog, and it's just taken off since then. The universe has done her thing, so yeah. Yes.
Did you feel like your connection or understanding of witchcraft changed through writing this book?
Oh my God, yes, 1,000%. I feel like writing this is like, So I wrote this in 2017 from like June until December. So it's been almost a year since I've like written it. So even just like looking back on it, I have this like kind of weird like connection with it, and like not connection, but I feel like there's so much distance because it's just coming out here. But I mean, I had to write about stuff that was not like that I hadn't worked with, but stuff that hadn't been a part of my personal practice for a long time, because I was kind of coming back to this like thing that I've been doing for the past 10 or 12 years, and like seeing it from more of like a, you know, like somebody, like what would I need to know if I didn't know anything? So just from that, like kind of having to teach people things, you just learn, you know, you like, it just teaches you. And it definitely helped me deepen my practice, because I was kind of like getting even, you know, deeper into things that I hadn't explored in a long time. And I feel like it's just its own entity, and it just keeps teaching me. It's taught me a lot about receiving. Like, we're not really taught how to like receive as like an active thing. Like, how many of us, when we get compliments, reject them or like make excuses instead of being like, thank you, and really like accepting it. It's hard. And like receiving like the love for this book, just being open to that has been like a big part of the lessons she's taught me. So it definitely has. It's definitely like leveled me up, I guess. Thanks. Anybody else? Yeah.
I don't know how to phrase this, because with the world as chaotic as it is today and all of this that's going on, what do you recommend for people who
Ooh, I love that. That aren't or are?
that are not religious?
Taking time to just like be by yourself, taking a salt bath. If you can take a salt bath, salt's one of the smallest natural crystals, and it absorbs excess energy. Plus, it's just really good for your muscles to take like an Epsom salt bath. That's one of my favorite practices when I just like am sick of the world and need to be by myself. Running an Epsom salt bath, maybe putting candles. You can work with different herbs like lavender. Taking time to just like take a deep breath in and like ask yourself what you need. I'm really Aquarius, very air sign, so I'm always thinking, and I'm always in my head, and like I had to train myself to breathe and like take deep breaths. I literally set like alarms on my phone to remind me to breathe. So if you don't do that, that's helpful. Anything that's gonna like move your mind and slow down, or move your body and slow down your mind. I really like yoga. That's obviously not for everybody. Meditation, you don't even have to meditate for more than like 5 minutes at a time, but just taking that time to like center yourself and check in with yourself, I think is super valuable. Journaling, you can even just having like one candle, like, yeah, if white's like universally a good candle to use for anything, you can use a white candle for like manifesting, for banishing, for health, for whatever. And it's really good to just for like positive energy. So just having one candle and like having like 5 minutes a day where you light it and you just sit with it, and like you can gaze at the flame, or you can meditate, and focusing an intention on that is like its own practice. But anything that's going to get you like in touch with where you are, and that's going to help you like move into the world more powerful and more grounded, because you know, like you're not, until you're like grounded and in your own power, you're not going to be as, you know, powerful and energetically like shaping the world around you. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else? No? Okay. Do you guys want me to read something else? Any suggestions? Okay. Let's see. So we can do about energy, tarot, fashion magic. What's up?
So, do you think everyone has some witch in them, the ability?
I think most of us do. I mean, I think it's not again, it's a responsibility, and it's not just like a trend. You can be like, I'm a witch, and then like not be a witch again, but that's just like not cool. Like, I think if you're called to learn more about this, then that seed is planted, and you just have to water it. But I think all of us have the seeds. I mean, actually maybe I'll read. I think there's a thing on reincarnation in here. I definitely believe in that, and I think that a lot of us have wisdom that we've carried with us throughout lives, and witchcraft is just one way of unlocking that. But not everybody, like when you're working with this kind of stuff, you see that like everything is powerful, and I don't know. For me, it's like I can't take things as casually as if I didn't believe in any of this. So it definitely, again, it's a responsibility. But if you're being called to it, I think, yeah, you definitely have it in you. Let's see. I don't even remember. Okay, this is the wrong chapter. Sorry, guys. I don't even know my book, apparently. Let's see. Okay, we can do the aura, stuff about chakras, sacred space, tarot. Do I have stuff about reincarnation? I thought I did. Oh, life after. Okay. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna read more about. We'll do a little bit more about karma and then reincarnation. Just as Newton's third law of motion states that for every action there's also an equal and opposite reaction, karma says the same thing. Except in our case, this means that the energy you put out in the universe at a spiritual, emotional, mental, or physical level will come back to you in some way. Positive inspires more positive, and negative inspires more negative. Karma is just though we may not always see it. Karma can take generations to heal or generations to wound. We have personal karma, how we act and live in this life, generational karma, the karma of our families, and our cultural karma, the karma of our region or society. These all interplay in different ways in our lives and carry over from past lives too. Life after life. Each witch will have her own beliefs about death, the afterlife, and heaven, which is known as the Summerland in some neo-pagan traditions and nirvana in some Eastern traditions. This is a notion that will probably evolve along with your practice of the craft, with there being no single right answer to the question of life after death. Personally, I believe in reincarnation, or the idea that the soul is reborn life after life. Karma is reincarnation over time. We are born as many times as we need to be until our souls become as pure and close to our true essence and the universe's essence as possible. A belief in reincarnation is common among witches, however, it's not universal, and not believing in reincarnation doesn't make you wrong. Personally, yeah, I think that you pick stuff, but I know pick your life and family, but there's a lot of layers to that, because that's, people don't deserve to live in poverty. It's another conversation, but let's see, what else? Any other questions? Yes.
Just were you asked to write the book, or did you just, okay?
I was approached. So I'd had my column on Nylon is going to be celebrating 2 years in November, which is just weird to me. So I'd been writing that for about probably 6 months, and I'd been writing for Broadly on witchcraft. And one of the questions I always get for my column is, what are your books that you recommend? I don't know where to start. And I was on my way to work, I was working at Hello Giggles and was got that question. I was damn, I could write this book. And then literally I got a DM on Twitter from an editor who was hey, do you want to write a book about witchcraft? And I was okay. And I did. So it was crazy. It was the most insane DM I've ever gotten on Twitter. So.
So when you received that message and you sat down to write,
Yeah.
did they I'm just curious, how did you keep it organized?
Yeah. So since I had this column, which is a Witch 101 column, I'd already had an idea of things that witches, people wanted to know, and I already had a bunch of stuff that I'd covered. And then they approached me to write it, and she was we want to talk about astrology and tarot, and they really left it up to me. There was a few main points, but I had to write a proposal, and I just kind of, I don't know, it just happened. I was I know I want to do fashion magic. I know I need to talk about energies and the archetype of the witch and her holidays. I work a lot by the phases of the moon. So I knew I wanted to include the moon, and then crystals, astrology, tarot. It just kind of, it definitely happened very organically. I feel it's weird because I feel there was a few months, I was writing this book while working full time, and there was a few months where I was just very stressed and overwhelmed, but most of the time I just really loved writing it and was just stressed because I had to do other work while writing it. But it wasn't a struggle to write, which is kind of why it's hard to receive the love for it, because it wasn't this labor of so difficult and I was pining over it. It just it happened. I loved writing. It was very fun. So yeah. Somebody else have a question? What's up?
So when I tell my friends and family that my friend's a witch, one of the biggest responses is like, does she
Worship Satan.
spell? Does she do spells? So what's your feeling about, I guess, spells and how people perceive them?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely do spells. I don't think I know which who doesn't work with spells. Spells are just like working with magic. It's just a specific way of working with magic. Like I think every ritual, like I think rituals are things that we can do repeatedly to connect with something, whether that's staging a room every morning or like for me, like creating a sacred space and then like working with a spell in that context. But like spells are little rituals unto themselves, but not every ritual includes a spell, but most of us will work with spells. We'll use our energy and to send to specific intention by working with magic. And again, it doesn't like, I wish I had like a wand and I could just be like, solve all my problems, but it doesn't, it doesn't work that way. There's, witchcraft is like one part of like, the cult world, and there's just so much different symbolism and things that, I don't know, that's totally unrelated. But yes, we cast spells, and yeah. Yes, Dad.
You know, the question you ask is intriguing because when people say spell, they're usually associated with kind of, kind of airy-fairy or whatever you want to call it. But the reality is that religious people do the same thing when they pray. They are asking God, to whom it may concern, give me this or give me that, give me good health, make sure that I'm safe, and so on and so forth. That is a kind of spell, whether we like to admit it or not. Now, there are different kinds of prayers. One is recognizing the greatness of the divinity or whatever, and thanking the divinity. But it sounds like it's all there with a different name, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always think it's so ironic that like the Catholic Church persecuted witches so much when they're like so mystical and so ritualistic and like do these weird things like eat the body of Christ. Like, okay, you're witches too. We see you. Like, but yeah, I think, again, like that there's so much still stigma and so much like misunderstanding and so much cultural conditioning around the idea of witchcraft and of spells and magic that like that might be like for a lot of us kind of a turnoff. But I mean, I think spells are dope. Like I've never not wanted to be a witch, so I don't know. Yes. What was my intention for writing this book? To help people find their own magic, because it looks different to everybody. Like I know that not everybody's gonna give a crap about fashion. Like, sorry for cursing, Mom. I do have the word bitchin' in my book, though. Just want to say, witchin' and bitchin'. Wait, what was the question? I don't even remember. What, Mom?
What was your intention?
Oh, my intention. To like help people connect to something that gives them some kind of purpose, or like that empowers them to like see the world in a way that they feel better about. Like magic is a lot of things. It's a relationship, and it's, it is this kind of own being, but it's also fun. Like I think spells are fun. I think magic is fun. I think like taking care of myself in this like weird spiritual woo-woo way is fun. But I just want people to find a connection to a part of themselves that they might not know is there, forgotten it's there, or just not known it's there. So.
I have to put the magic into the meter. I'll be right back.
Okay. What's up?
So I was curious because I was introduced to witchcraft because I was doing dialectical behavioral therapy.
Ooh.
And then I noticed that there was like a lot of overlap, and I was so into the therapy, but I was into the witch version of the therapy. But I was kind of curious what your thoughts were on like some practices were like kind of uncomfortable for me. Like I was like therapy, like there were some things that I clicked with and some things I didn't. And I'm kind of curious, like at what point do you want to like push past some of that uncomfortable feeling to like really like stretch your intentions?
Yeah.
Can like do easily.
Yeah.
How much of it like is just like no, I'm just not gonna.
Oh, that's a good question. So I think I feel like I was just thinking about, so one of the people I write for is Chakrubs, which are crystal sex toys, and like I was listening to a podcast with Vanessa, and she was like, one of the first things you have to do when you're starting to work with these crystals is like give yourself permission to feel kind of weird and uncomfortable and awkward. And like I think that's kind of important, like especially if you've never really worked with energy or like done any kind of ritual, and if you've been told about, like, grew up in a household that has not sheltered, but like not really taught you about that, or like if Christian or any kind of patriarchal religion, you're already gonna have these like preconceived notions. First off, just being like, I might feel kind of weird, and then just again like doing practices that help you like feel things, because it is hard to distinguish between anxiety and intuition, and that's something that it just takes time to learn. Like I don't have one single answer except making an effort to be present. But like I think that I personally believe if things scare me, then I have to do it. But like also I'm really scared of like heights, and I'm not going to jump out of a plane. So, like it's baby steps, like you don't have to go into it and be totally uncomfortable. You'd be like, okay, like this is something that is bringing something up, and I'm just going to stay with it for a little bit and really just like be present in that, and like give yourself time, because there's no rush. Like you have the rest of your life to be a witch. We have the rest of our lives for any kind of journey. Like I remember being in yoga and having them tell us that like there's no timeline. And it's important to kind of like, I do think that any kind of work like this is gonna you're gonna push past your comfort zone. But like if you're worrying more about like being scared in like a practice or like in a ritual or in magic, then like you need to maybe take a step back, because you should be able to be present, and like it should feel good. So if it doesn't feel good, then like don't rush it. But taking baby steps, I don't think there's not a timeline. Does that answer your question a little bit? Okay. Yay. Anybody else? Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks, Lara.
We were wondering if we are ready, and we want to build an altar. We were wondering
Yeah.
where do you think the best place for that to be, and what items we should include.
Ooh, okay, so first off, if you have like a specific intention, that can be helpful. So whether it's just like to celebrate like the changing seasons, if you want a protection altar, if you want abundance, like all those things are kind of to keep in mind. There's like different things about where you should put your altar and where you shouldn't, but my answer is like do it where you have space and where it's going to be convenient, and somewhere that you like are going to want to go to. Like you're not going to want to put your altar in like a little corner where like you're not going to want to go, but also you're not going to want to put it in the middle of like where you're going to be walking into. And it doesn't have to be big. It can be like a little, like in college I had mine on a bookshelf. I've had mine on a dresser. So just picking a spot that like feels right. You could go by the directions, but it's kind of hard to do when you're in LA and you have limited space, man. Like, gotta do what you can. I would put any, like, talismans, so I love putting candles on altars, especially if you have, like, a specific intention. So, like, if you're doing the changing of seasons, you could put gold or any colors of fall, green for abundance, black and white for protection and getting rid of negative energy. Any kind of flowers is a really good idea. Anything that you can, like, leave as an offering, so honey or sweets if that's like a part of if you're working with specific energies. But candles, photos of loved ones, or just photos that like match your intention, crystals that match that. You can like find things, like I have like little items for my grandma and my grandpa. I have like jewelry that belonged to them, like talismans that you get, anything that you like. Your altar is just like a place to focus your intention and your energy and just should make you feel good. So like, it can be like something from work that you like, or like a photo of your family, or a photo of like you and you guys together. But anything that just like you go there and you're like, this is right, should be there. Like beauty is, I don't know, I want as much beauty in my life as possible. I like looking at beautiful things. So anything that makes you like happy and feel good, I suggest. And I can give you more like personalized recs later too. Yeah. Anybody else? No?
Oh,
Okay.
So what do you do with that bad energy that you're not attracted to, but it's present? Do you change it?
I would try to clear it away instead of actually, like, when you're changing it, it's like, so for me, like, if I'm going to use, like, a person as an example. So if there's, like, a person that, like, I want to cut out of my life, like, you could hex them or, like, send energy back into them, but then you're only, like, adding more energy to this energy that's there. My suggestion is always to try to, like, cut it out. So you can use sacred herbs. White sage is over harvested right now, so I don't recommend buying it unless it's from somewhere you know it's ethically grown. But you can use desert sage, you can use mugwort, you can use sweetgrass, you can use rosemary. Like, there's all these different herbs that you can burn to kind of help clear away the energy. You can work with black crystals like tourmaline, obsidian, or onyx, and that helps absorb energy and kind of like redirect anything. And then sprinkling salt in corners. There's different rituals you can do, and also just asking, like, if it's just energy like that, like, you can ask any, like, beings that you work with that are in 100% light to help you kind of clear away any energy. And then if it's a person, what I would do is I would bind them. So that's pretty much just like, I imagine it as like putting an energetic lasso around somebody, like literally, like I imagine like Wonder Woman's like lasso, and like that containing them far away from me, so like their energy doesn't even like mess up, like match with mine. And I have a spell for that in the book. You can also write somebody's name and put it in the freezer, and that puts them like in like the void. So that just kind of, it's literally just a way of like, if you don't want somebody to talk to you, it's like an energetic block button. It's not going to hurt them. It's just going to like protect your energy before like you're trying to mess with theirs. That's always my suggestion. But like also, when people are hurting other people, like I think magic needs to be worked on a case-by-case basis. If there's somebody who's like really going to harm a bunch of people, then like that might not be enough, and that you might need to do some kind of like mirroring where you're sending back any negative energy that they're sending at you. And there's different visualizations that you can do to kind of help that too. I like imagining like a giant mirrored orb around me that any negative energy is reflected back, and then only the good can move through. That's kind of pretty to think about, and I use that when I need some like major protection. Yeah. Yes.
You have psychic abilities also.
Oh my, we were just talking about psychicness. I definitely have a very strong intuition, and I feel like when you're working with energy and magic, like as a witch, you're naturally just you're connecting to your intuition in a deeper way, and you're naturally gonna grow that gift. Some people are born way more psychic than others. Like I think I'm very intuitive, but I wouldn't say I'm a psychic personally, but that might change, and I'm sure down the road it'll change too. But yeah, I think most witches have some kind of psychic knowing, or they wouldn't be doing this work. Anything else? Yes. Oh, I love that question. What's the most valuable part of bringing magic into your life? I think a sense of like empowerment. It's like magic, like if you've been on the internet and you've seen all the internet witches being angry about the Sephora witch kit, which is just this thing, Sephora was going to sell like white sage and advertise it as a witch kit, and it's just made a lot of us like roll our eyes. The thing is, you don't need anything to do magic. Like, it's cool to have candles, it's cool to have tarot cards, but like just like having a million bottles of paint won't make you a painter. It's kind of the same. So for me, magic, it's like another set of rules and nobody can take away from me. Like, I can literally cast a spell with like my mind and like a stick I found outside, and like that's it, you know? Like, it's first off, it's fun and it's empowering, and I think it just allows us to navigate this world feeling more in control and more of like we know who we are and we know our power. And it's just fun, yeah. If that answered your question. Yeah. Anybody?
I have to ask a personal question, because you're the first witch I've met that I know of.
Woohoo! We're out there. A lot of us are in the broom closet.
Do you hang out with other witches?
It's literally called, yeah, it's like when you come out as a witch, you're coming out of the broom closet. It's the thing.
So are most of your friends witches, or, I mean...
Honestly, yes. Like, all of them. I just feel like I've always had like a small group of really close friends and not a big group of friends, because I'm just like, I'm one of those people, like, I like having very, like, I'm picky, and I like having, like, personal connections to people, and I would say, like, all the people I consider, like, my best friends are witches, and some of them just wouldn't necessarily use that terminology, but, you know, are still witches. But yeah, definitely, like, especially here, it's really wild. I never, like, as, like, a little 11-year-old who, like, felt very alone in Johns Creek, Georgia as, like, a witch, like, the fact that, like, I have a community of witches here is still, like, mind-blowing. But most of my friends are witches, yes. But I don't think that's the norm necessarily.
And then just my last question, having a father who's a rabbi,
Yeah.
how were you accepting? Was it hard when you told your dad you were a witch?
Well, I remember I thought I told him in the car after a month-long sleepaway camp, Jewish sleepaway camp. Apparently, I don't remember that. Honestly, I remember, so I started writing about witchcraft on my then fashion blog, Breathing Fashion, like 4 or 5 years ago. And I wrote a piece called Why I Chose Witchcraft. And I remember my dad calling me. I was at my friend's house, and he's like, listen, like, I really like what you wrote, but you just, like, need people to, like, not think you're a Satanist. Like, and honestly, also just, like, we really are scared of Satanists. Like, Satanism is just, like, do what you want, honor thyself, and, like, be a good person. So that's also very misunderstood, but his worry was that I was going to be perceived wrong or impact me professionally, but he's always been, I've never felt like he hasn't been really understanding. I mean, I also understand that, like, as a 12-year-old being like, I'm a witch, like, that doesn't really seem like I get why they thought it was a phase. And for my mom, I know it's like, you know, our cultural understanding of what the witch is going to shape our understanding of who she is. And growing up in Mexico, where there's this totally different connotation to witchcraft, where it's darker and it's not, you know, the love and light that's so we often see in this kind of, like, United States culture of witchcraft. It was harder for her. I get it. I mean, she had a totally different upbringing in a space where there's all this really intense karmic connections to witchcraft that are heavy. So, but no, they've been really, this book, I think, was like, they're like, okay, we get it. Like, you're a witch. So, yeah. But I don't know. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But they've both been really understanding about it, which is dope. So thanks, Mom and Dad.
You've always been a very spiritual person from the time that you could speak, and there was no way that we would in any way inhibit that.
Yeah.
So I call you my little pagan.
I didn't know that. I've never heard that. I remember not being able to buy words. I wasn't allowed to buy books with the word witch in the title, so this is fun. You don't remember. I remember, like, anybody else? Yeah, I remember, so. Anybody else have any questions? Yes.
What do you usually recommend as, like, witchcraft practice to people who aren't, like, super interested, but they
Might not know what to do.
yeah, like, they're like, oh, I'm a little bit interested. What's a practice?
I would do, like, picking one thing that you can do every day, or more days than not, whether it's, like, again, meditating, lighting a candle and focusing on intention, smudging with sacred herbs, like, anything that's going to get you, like, connected to yourself. Because witchcraft, like, that's the main thing. It's connection to the earth and connection to yourself. So any kind of mindfulness practice, spending time in nature is a big one. We work a lot with the cycles of the earth and the moon, and then how that's reflected in ourselves. So I would say, like, get a calendar and learn when the solstices, the equinoxes, the days between are. Do something that cultivates a state of mindfulness and connection to your inner self. And then also, like, learning about the phases of the moon is a really easy way to start connecting your own energy to that of something bigger. So yeah.
Do witches get married?
Yeah, they do get married. There's a special ceremony called hand fasting where you hold somebody's hand and you're, like, bound with rope, and yeah, it's like a special kind of ritual, but we do. Yes.
Does it have to be to a witch?
No, it's like anything else, but
But would that be something that would be, for you, something that you would
I'm not thinking. Me? Oh, I mean, yeah, but I'm also just not thinking about marriage yet. So we'll see what happens when we get there. Yes.
what kind of
So for me, it depends. I love the app Insight Timer. It has a bunch of different meditations. I know there's a lot on Spotify. I will work with crystals and just literally like breathe in gold energy and exhale negative energy, and then repeat a mantra to myself, which the Hood Witch actually wrote. She has great meditations on her site. And you can also do it with each chakra. So like the energy centers of the body are called chakras. They live along our spine. And that, it's a Hindu tradition. It's a part of their practice, but it's, everybody believes in energy centers in a different way. So this is actually meditation in the book, but I'll meditate on each chakra and imagine like that color that corresponds with it to like clear and center. I'll do like a lot of heart opening meditations. I'll just look on Insight Timer and just like see what I need in that moment. And then like at the beginning of the week, each week I'll take some time and kind of like check in with myself and set intentions, and then I'll decide usually on that. And kind of sometimes I'll have like a week where I'm doing like just loving kindness meditations and like sending out gratitude to people through meditation like that. But it just depends. There's a lot. Anything like, because for me it's really hard to just like sit and breathe. Like I'll do that, but kind of having a little bit more of a container for me to like explore that helps. Yeah. Anybody else? No? Or one last question?
Yes, I am. That kind of leads me into one question also. I was like, what should I answer? And intuitively, like the one question out of 10 was, I'll try to phrase it as a question. I'm pretty sure my grandma is a witch, but she died when I was pretty young, and we didn't really speak much because she was kind of old. We didn't really speak the same language. But I've met a lot of witches in the past 3 years of my life, and also realized that most of my female friends, probably since I was like a young boy, and the friends that I have now are witches. Even the male friends I have now, I feel like are witches. People that are just not spiritually inclined, like at all, or are. It's just like I'm like not resonating with them. And there's a lot of this happening, and so I guess where I'm going with this is, what's a way that I don't know if it like skipped a generation or if there's something where like my mom like is unable or just can't talk about it. But this is another thing that I've been advised
Yeah.
is happening, and yet I keep, no matter what I do, I keep like leaning more into kind of doing witchcraft type things just to manage my life, much less like live it. What's like a way that I can go deeper into this whole thing with my grandma? Maybe I don't know if there was a chapter in your book on like mediumship or something.
I would, if you haven't already set up an altar dedicated to her, having like a place where like you're literally creating like a container to honor her and specifically her, like having a photo, having a candle that you can light, and like, I mean, again, like our ancestors, our family, like time, first off, doesn't exist. I don't believe in it in general, but like beyond this life, especially, like it's not the same. So those who we've connected with who have passed on, whether they be family or not, like they're able to stay with us if we need them as guides. And your grandma's probably, if you feel this connection with her, she's definitely probably one of your guides. I would definitely create an altar to her. If there's like any of her favorite flowers or foods or like anything that you did together that even just reminds you of her, you can put it there. And having a photo and just like taking time, each day or each week to sit down and just like meditate and talk to her or journal to her. You can write her letters, but just like taking a step to connect with that spirit, like again, like you just said, like you got intuitively knew to ask this question, like those kind of hits are going to come to you, especially if you continue to like deepen that connection. You can also ask for her. You can burn mugwort, and then before you fall asleep, and ask her for like messages or to connect with her in dreams. I really enjoy making art for people or beings I'm connecting with. You can do that if that's something that speaks to you, or like whatever your passion is. And if there's any like jewelry that she has or anything that you have of hers, you can either like literally carry it or work with it or place it on your altar. But I think having like a dedicated space, even if it's just like a photo and like a couple, like a little tiny candle, would also just like cue to that the universe, like, okay, like he's ready to connect with his like ancestral magic. That's a big part of, we come from our ancestors, Yeah, does that answer your question? No problem.
hit on some of the things that I've been like advised to do and said it differently. Okay.
Yay.
And they know what they're talking about, and it all makes sense.
Yay. Glad to hear it.
You've been listening to the Skylight Books author reading series. Don't forget, you can listen to this and all of our other great podcasts at skylightbooks.com. Thanks again for stopping by, and we hope to see you soon.